Het-Heru and Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. This is Het-Heru here with another broadcast for you. And today I want to talk to you about why Hollywood and the news media wants a civil war. Give me one second. I need to adjust everything here because I make sure I can hear myself and everything. Okay. Testing. Good. I think we're good. All right. Here we go. Okay. So, yes, why Hollywood and the news media outlets want a civil war. But before I get on to that, let me see what we got going on here in mainstream media. No, that looks good. That looks good. You know, it's interesting because people, you know, in our society, we take the news media for granted. We think that everything that they print, everything that they say is the truth. But in reality, a large percentage of what they put out there and what they say is not the truth at all. You know, in fact, it's a lot about propaganda. You know, and you have to be very, very careful because it's meant to program your subconscious mind to get you to become kind of like an agent, one who proselytizes for a certain agenda. And it's very interesting that I said that because, you know, I'm kind of really like tired now because I spent the entire night in meditating. So I had picked like several different goals and several different mantras. So I just started doing various different meditation techniques. And before I realized it, I had broke night and was just so exhausted. But it was one of those things where, you know, I realized the importance of if you don't take care of your mind, if you don't like work on programming your mind with truisms or the right belief system, the world around you or society around you will do it for you. Because you're exposed to things, whether you realize it or not, and it's more on a subliminal level, you know? And you may think you're going into a movie to enjoy, you know, Darth Vader or the Force, or you're going in there to see a nice love story, but in reality, you're going in there and you're being programmed, and you don't even realize it. Because there is something under the surface, and they have basically fine-tuned this and got it down to a science that is really communicating to you on various different layers without you really understanding what is going on. So basically, what am I talking about here? Well, what am I saying is this. I'm saying that what this country and what our media outlets like Hollywood and the news, what they want is they want conflict. They want to keep all these different factions of people fighting one another, or different organizations fighting one another. Because when you have people who are at odds with each other, it's very easy to control them, divide and conquer. That's what it's all about. You do not want a consensus of thought. You do not want people to be in alignment and agreement, because it's much more difficult to control them that way. Now, especially the races, if you go back and you research Bacon's Rebellion, and this is a time when white people were on the same economic level as black people, and we worked together. And there was no differentiation in terms of like, you were better than me or I'm better than you based on our complexion of our skin tone. It wasn't that, it had nothing to do with that. But what the country, the government, the ruling elite realized that they came up with a junk science that said that you're inferior based on your complexion and you're superior based on your complexion. They could create this division that would go on for generations. And that would keep people from aligning, getting together, and overthrowing the government. And they've been doing it ever since. And they've been doing it in different ways, and splitting hairs, basically breaking apart our civilization. And remember, as I talked about in previous videos, about how we based on that left brain civilization, Anubis Sebek, who is left brain, and all we see coming out of this is forever new terms, new names, all these nomenclatures, splitting of hairs, talking about, well, I'm part of this community and you're against me, and I have a right to this and that and that and this. And what the government does is it funnels resources to one group deprives the other resources and watches them fight for resources, and then claims it's not enough. Case in point, reparations for the African American community who have been, who are today descendants of slaves. We now know that Israel gets billions and billions of dollars in reparations for what happened over in Germany. But African Americans who, during the transatlantic slave trade and during slavery here and during Jim Crow and during mass incarceration, you know, we lost like, what, 100 million. Families were separated, a language was lost, a culture was lost, but there never have been any real discussions on reparations. In fact, the United Nations says the United States is guilty of human rights violations against African Americans. So where are the reparations? They won't do that because it is better to keep them economically separated. The common, the medium white family has an income of $10,000, and the median black family has an income of $1,700. You don't want them to be on par with each other, because then that creates a consensus of thought, an alignment of ideas, and that's the way you can get a group to now turn their focus to the government. Because when you're only making $1,700 per family household minus the car, then you're in survival mode. You're not thinking about luxuries. You're not thinking about anything else but like, where's the food going to come from for tomorrow? And the white family who has making the $10,000, they're now thinking about other things, and they're not associating with the black family. So do you get where I'm coming from? This divide and conquer type thing. And one of the ways that they do this, and they continually do this, if you see Hollywood, and Hollywood, the casting system, where when I was in the film industry, I used to think, well, you know what, we just need more progressive people in positions of power in Hollywood. It's not even that. This is done on purpose. It's done on purpose. They don't want diversity in the films, diversity in the studio system. What they want is to keep it, they want to make sure that they keep it so that the positions of power, that the roles that you see on screen will never be equal. They don't want, or equivalent, which I think it's better to have an equivalence. They want to do it that way so that there's always a separation. That whites can always go to the movies and look at the movies and see blacks in a very subjugated position, and see themselves in a very elevated position. That keeps that separation, that line of demarcation. So what they do is, and then they take it a step further by setting up these conflicts. Like, do you remember the year when there were no films that were nominated for Academy Awards that were minority films? Either there were films that were produced and directed by Black, Latino, Asians, but there were none that were nominated for an Oscar. How could that have happened? It was purposely done. It was purposely done. Then follow the next year to correct the error. Then they gave the award to a black film, Moonlight, which was a film about the gay subject matter, which the whole thing there, you know, that was the idea. They had an agenda behind that. Now, I'm not here to pass any judgment, but what I'm trying to say to you is, you could be green from Mars. I think that's groovy. I think it's cool. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you are being used with whatever group that you're with, LGBT, Martian Associated Inc., I don't know, like Squirrels Inc., whatever group that you're using, you're in, and what title that you have, you're being used to create conflict and dissent, so that they can control the people. And this is part of the programming. You know, it was interesting because not too long ago this happened. I remember that it was on Facebook, and I was saying that I would not be interested in seeing a certain type of film, right? And then all of a sudden, out of the woodworks, these individuals came and started to attack me. And I said, well, all I said is I just wouldn't be interested in seeing a film of that subject matter. But you see, that's what it's all about, you see. It's about bullying now. Because if I don't support your cause, if I don't see eye to eye with you, then your recourse is to bully me into compliance. Not to live and let live. Not to say, okay, you know what? I don't agree with your opinion, but you know, I'll defend your right to have freedom of speech. No, because the new doctrine now is to bully someone into compliance. And this creates the atmosphere for violence. This creates the atmosphere for civil war. Let's take this a step further. What they are doing is they are creating divisions, and what they're doing is they're purposely trying to provoke white males. Now with the white male privilege, which they keep throwing out there, you know, as if African Americans are the one that's using that term. No, the media is kind of throwing it out there to piss off white males, you know, and calling white males racist, you know, and then having this whole thing with the Me Too campaigns and the harassment, you know, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. But that's what they want to do. They want to create this atmosphere where you can push them so far to where they snap back and they retaliate. That's what they want. And they're using white women to do it. And the African American community can be seen as a canary in the coal mine because they're doing the same thing there. And they're putting out these are ridiculous news stories and press releases. They put out one news story where they had an African American writer, I'm not even mention her name to give her any press, where she talks about black men are terrorists. I mean, what, are you serious? Are you serious? Then last week there was a news story that came out, and it said this. It said that the let me read a little bit of it. It said black women saved Alabama with 98% of them voting. And the truth of the matter is that it was black males and black women that voted equally to elect the politicians. But somehow or another, this media outlet only reported that it was black women that showed up to the polls. This is purposely done to incite animosity and division. And you probably also, you guys have probably also seen the news story that goes around saying that black women are the most educated in the country, which is a lie. And that's another a thing they're doing to create a gender war. So this is happening from both sides, from both the black and the white side. They're trying to piss off white men. They're trying to create this division between white men and white females. They're doing the same thing in the black community too. And now with the whole social justice warriors who are out there trying to bully you into compliance, if you don't see things their way, their recourse is to gang up on you, troll you on social media, file lawsuits, do whatever they can so you can accept their way of life, even though you may not be doing anything to them. You say, listen, you know, God bless you, live however you want to live. It's just not my cup of tea. No, you must accept my way of life. You must accept me. This is the insanity that we live in, and exactly what George Orwell in his book 1984 was talking about. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. And it's leading to a civil war because I guarantee, and this is exactly what they want, a civil war. Because white males are not going to put up with this. And neither is the African American community. When you start coming out with television programs that mandate that the woman in the program, well, let's say movies, where you have a movie like Star Wars, where the lead character is a woman and she's better than everybody else and never had any training. How is Rey, going to be like master the Force when she's never trained by Yoda, trained by anybody? But that is taking things too far. I'm all for having women as lead characters. I did my film called War is a Bitch, where it was all females, and it was definitely about female empowerment. But sometimes you take things too far. We have some skinny women beating up guys who are 6 feet tall, 270 pounds or whatever. That's not realistic. Then you have these films that come out, and you can see blatantly what they're doing. They're having the one woman who can do all the stuff, fantasy character. Then you got to pepper in it with the token black guy. Then you got the gay guy. And then who else do you have? You got the dumb white male, because the white male, he's not intelligent, He's like an Al Bundy, or Homer Simpson. It's ridiculous. It's very obvious what they're doing. They're socially engineering. They're trying to get the population to think in a certain way, to act in a certain way. They're doing a setup for a fall. They know what they're doing. And it's up to us to recognize the direction that things are headed in and to make a course correction. Because if we don't, clearly we're headed for disaster, clearly. And it's very interesting, as you'll see, the convergence of all these things at once. How, that the Oscar was given to the movie Moonlight. I didn't see it. I heard it was very well made, and then suddenly you have, what's his name? Bruce Jenner come out and say he's going to dress as a woman now. And that's all staged. That's not real. He says he's going to come out as a woman, but still likes women. That makes no sense to me. How do you still like women? Aren't you, and that's all staged, because you can't do that in a popular reality show, because you have advertising dollars that are at stake. You make any type of change or direction, a course correction, that could destroy, or you can have advertisers pull out and ruin it, and millions of dollars could be lost. They pre-plan these things. They work with think tank institutions or organizations years in advance. They know what's going to be a hit, what's not going to be a hit. So I don't believe for a second that he just decided that he was going to be brave and come out of the closet. That's bull. This was planned in a boardroom. And like I said, it all came, all the timing was just right, just as we have now. Star Wars comes out with their Rey character, strong, independent woman, and you see all these things, how they happen at once, and then you have manipulation with the news media, talking about now, these women are being harassed. Women who are coming out 20 years later talking about harassment. Didn't go to the HR department. Now they're coming out and saying these things. It's peculiar, How does this make sense? How does this make sense, And then the media is diverting your attention. You turn on the news media, all they're talking about is with Colin Kaepernick and him taking the knee. How many times do we need to hear this story? It's a symbolic gesture. It is meaningless. We don't need to even talk about this as a subject matter. It is not something that's important in terms of what's going on in the world today. It means nothing. What he did means nothing. But yet the news media is the one that's propagating it. They keep putting it in our faces because they don't want to deal with the real issues that are going on. That the media itself, is creating racial division. The media itself, is the ones that are prepping for war. Did you see when Trump won, the news media was like, how did this happen? We thought Hillary was going to win. You're liars. You're the one, and it was, they ran, independent company ran the numbers. It was the news media that gave Trump more airtime than they gave Hillary. Trump got the lion's share of the airtimes from the news media. Did you know that the news media never carries or shows anything in regards to Louis Farrakhan? If they can do a blackout when it comes to a person like Louis Farrakhan, why couldn't they do a blackout to someone like to Trump, who they consider racist, who they consider a white supremacist? Why were they so, every rally he had, why were they the first ones there covering it from beginning to end? And then we're surprised when he won. Of course he won, because you gave him so much time on the air. People, what were people going to vote for? Especially new voters. They didn't see Hillary. They didn't see Bernie Madoff, or what is his name, Bernie? They didn't see him, because all they saw was Trump all over the air. And don't act surprised. You're like, I don't know, how did he win? How did he win? You know how he won. You knew exactly how he won. Out of sight, out of mind. Hillary wasn't in the forefront of the media. So let's get this straight. We know who are the architects of destruction. We know who they are. They're working in the newsrooms. They're working in the studios. They're purposely doing things to create the vision. They're going out there to Vegas or to Timbuktu, planting bombs and explosives to go off, then blaming it on some organization, maybe some white supremacist organization, just so that they can say, well, these white supremacists really hate blacks, so this America, we still haven't come far enough. We haven't come far enough, and then they cut off aid to blacks and don't give, and there's unemployment, high unemployment among young black males, to where they can't find jobs, and they have no recourse but to what? Go to the streets and get involved in underhanded activities. What are they going to do? Then the media says, crime in the minority communities is up, and they keep focusing on that to get whites in fear of young black men. And Hillary goes out and calls them super predators. Well, you haven't created any jobs for them. You haven't addressed the fact that they have the highest unemployment in the entire country. If that same, I think it's what, 42%? If that same number was on the side of white males, everybody would be freaking out. But because it's black males, no one cares. And you use that as propaganda to create fear. Fear in white males and white females that they'll be robbed. That there's crime here in this neighborhood, that neighborhood. Then you talk about the economy may crash again and all this. Well, why don't you deal with the people who crashed it in the first place and got the bailouts? Let's see. Those people stole money, so the only way to save the economy from going under is to give them more money. This is a big manipulation game that's going on. We're in a rat maze, a mouse maze, and this is a large experiment. And no matter where we're turning, we're getting screwed. And it's all part of a gigantic experiment. And they're playing us, the human race. And we actually believe that we're either better than our fellow man, either because of our economic standing or our race, our complexion, or where we live, or who we associate with. And all that crap does not matter. Because there was a time on this planet where there wasn't something called race, and there wasn't something called racism. Now what we have is the hoarding of wealth, to where you have mega millionaires or billionaires, and how much more money do they need? You know? But let's take this further. Now you have, and a lot of people don't realize this, you see things in the media where you see these individuals come out the woodworks and who have created companies, who have created apps, who have done this and done this, and then people say, you can do it too. You can be an entrepreneur. You can start your own company, and you can excel, and you can be like so-and-so, Steve Jobs. You can be, no, you cannot. You cannot. You know why you cannot? Because we live in a caste system. Because if you're born Black, Latino, or poor white trash, you are not going to move out of your station in life. You're going to be confined to that station. It is a caste system. You're not going to rise above that. Because you don't have the economic power, meaning the cash flow. You don't have the resources, the human resources, meaning that you don't have a family that has money in the bank or savings to lend you so you can invest it in the stock market or invest in the business. Donald Trump's father gave him some money. Obama's his grandmother or mother, grandmother gave him $1 million or something. Most people, most poor white trash from middle America don't have $1 million. They don't have a family member that's going to give them $1 million to start a business. So, you know, and most of the times these stories are made up. They're a lie. Zuckerberg started Facebook. Did he really start, you know, did he really start it? You see, they concoct these stories because they don't want you to know the truth behind these things, that they really were started by men in the back room. But they needed a cover story. Some young kid, you know, and it sounds good, sounds great, and it's inspiring. It makes you think that you can do it too, you know? But are you in Yale? Are you in Harvard? No, you're not. So that's a real big disadvantage already. That's what they're not telling you that, are they? They're just filling your head with pipe dreams, but not telling you that, you know, a lot of these guys who started these multi-million-dollar companies that you see today came from wealthy backgrounds where the parents were attorneys, lawyers, you know. They're what we call outliers. They were set up for success. If you live in a trailer park, you ever been to a trailer park in the Midwest where you have black people and white people living together because they're so poor and they have to go to a well to get water? Yes, that's today. That is today. The conditions are deplorable. Those individuals most likely would never get out of their station. Do you think, let me explain something. Do you think, you know, Spielberg, who is, in my opinion, a genius, okay, anyway, man's great, but do you think that P. Diddy, Spielberg, these people were basically selected and got to where they were going through either they got in at the right time, they met the right people at the right time. They got in when the conditions were prime, and those conditions no longer exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Trump got into real estate at a certain period of time when you can't make that kind of success now. It's the real estate game is totally different now. Don't try to duplicate that type of success because it won't work. If you go back 15 years and look at the poker players from 15 years ago and look at them now, stark difference, total difference. Go look at Bruce Lee as a fighter and some of the vintage footage of him back when, and go look at the mixed martial arts fighters now. They would kick his ass. Things are different now. So stop looking at these guys of yesteryear and thinking, oh, I can duplicate that success. No, you can't. You can't be the next Anthony Robbins because he got in there and he's backed by Gunther Renker, $1 million corporation. And Gunther Renker's not going to back you. And most of these guys that you see, they're picked to be the face of hope and inspiration. Ty Lopez. I don't buy anything he's saying. Shows you his house. I don't believe that's his house. I don't believe it's his house. But they have to, in order for him to sell programs, he has to sell you on his inspirational story. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, okay? So we've got to be grounded in reality and understand what we're fighting for and what we're fighting against. Because a lot of stuff that they're putting out there in the media is false. It's a lie. This whole thing with the Me Too is meant to create panic among males, to get them afraid, to cause division between the white males and white females, to piss white males off in hope of some type of retaliation, to keep that gender war going. Just remember, they have these things planned out at least 10 years in advance. They are master strategists. All they do is sit around and plan social engineering. They know what the fads are going to be. They know what direction groups are going to move in, racial groups, gender groups. They know if tomorrow people are going to start wearing yellow or not. They know what television programs are going to be popular, what characters are going to be popular, what tomorrow's news story is going to be. Yes, they know that. Because they write the news stories days and days in advance. They know when the next terror attack is going to happen. Because they create the false flags. And they blame it on certain groups to give them the to allow them to give them the free reign to go in and raid them. So listen, it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world we're living in. And I didn't mean for this broadcast to be so passionate and so long, but we're fighting. The worst thing that we have to deal with now is our own friends and our own family members who have become passionately wrapped up in these terms, these labels, and these definitions because they have been indoctrinated into the silliness of these campaigns. These labels and terms mean nothing. Mean nothing. You calling yourself a feminist? Calling yourself a black nationalist? Calling yourself a Cometian? At the end of the day, what does it mean and what is it going to do for you? Nothing. It's not going to do anything for you. You know what it's going to do? It's just going to cause greater division. I've seen it with the Christian church. I've seen how pompous and stuck up they become. No kidding. Because this is like maybe like, I don't know, like 16 years ago. I was in a bar because I like to play pool, right? I never drank. And I'm standing there and I saw this girl in the bar, and she was actually, no, she was actually by the bar. I guess she had a drink. And I said, because I was deep into astrology, and I said I like her earrings, and I got into it. I said, what is your sign? She goes, I don't believe in that because I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. And I said, well, what are you doing in the bar then? Stupid, just stupid. You know what I'm saying? But that's their way of using that term Christianity to create more division and to show how better they are than us. And just, again, creating division, creating more division. So anyway, if you like this video, hit the like button. And I just started a Patreon campaign. So if you can, please donate. If you can, donate $1. That's how you can start. If you donate $1, I'll give you a shout out. And if you like this video, share it with friends and family members. Subscribe to my channel for more great videos. And until my next broadcast, this is Kasat Ma Het-Heru, and Amun Ra.